What's going on, guys? JSGC here, and we are here for another Manchester City transfer update. Probably going to have one more transfer update out later on next week, our final one of 2023. Then remember, we'll be going daily with Manchester City transfer updates from January 1st for you guys to look forward to and enjoy. So if you do want to stay up to date here on YouTube with all the latest Manchester City transfer news in January, do make sure you have subscribed to my channel. It is free to subscribe. Also, don't forget social media links. They're in the description if you want to go and follow me on my Twitter, Instagram and TikTok. Email also in the description too if you want to hit me up for any sponsorships for any videos or any general business inquiries. Don't forget as well to leave a thumbs up. 200 likes is the aim, and do get your thoughts in the comments below, including what bits of business would you like Manchester City to do in January. Do let me know in the comments below. So we're going to crack on with this video. We're going to start off with the outs, and we're going to be speaking about Kalvin Phillips, and I've got a feeling that over the next month or so I'm going to be saying Kalvin Phillips' name a lot. So, the latest on him, Fabrizio Romano has confirmed Juventus have now opened talks with Manchester City over a loan deal for Kalvin Phillips. It's not going to be an obligation to buy, but there is going to be an option to buy for them in the summer. We of course saw a very similar deal right at the end of January last winter, where João Cancelo left Manchester City and went and signed for Bayern Munich. Manchester City looking to be a little bit more organised here. Kalvin Phillips wants to be on the plane to Germany in June when England go to the European Championships, and the only way he's going to do that is getting regular playing time. He knows that's not going to happen at Manchester City. He chose to stay at Manchester City this summer rather than pursue an exit away from the club, because he believes he's got something to offer to Manchester City, and he feels like he's not managed to do his best, so to speak, and he doesn't feel like Manchester City have seen the very best of Kalvin Phillips, so he wanted to stay and fight for his place. It just quite simply hasn't worked out. He's a really nice guy, but it's just unfortunately not worked out for him, and it seems like he's going to be leaving Manchester City this winter, and I'd be pretty surprised if we do see him again in a Manchester City shirt. So if he does head out on loan to Juventus, I wish him all the best. I really do hope he gets all the minutes that he's looking for, keeps himself injury free, that he gets to impress over there, and you never know, he could seal himself a permanent transfer to Turin to go to Juventus as well in the summer, who are a very prestigious, very historic, top big Italian team. So it's a great opportunity for Kalvin Phillips. We'll see what will happen from there, and of course when it gets to March time and it gets to the international break and I get round to doing my loan report, I'm hoping that I'll be able to give a brilliant report of Kalvin Phillips doing very well wherever he does end up out on loan, and I'm almost certain, I'm 99% certain that he'll leave Manchester City in January and it will be on loan. Now, David Ornstein over at The Athletic has said that in terms of Premier League interest in Kalvin Phillips, Crystal Palace, they're also interested, but it is Juventus, according to Sky Sports, who are most keen on Kalvin Phillips, and I think Manchester City are quite keen on him getting away from the Premier League, so it doesn't have any implications. Not so much for the remainder of this season, because he wouldn't be eligible to play against Manchester City, but if there is an option to buy and it is to another Premier League club, from next season, if that club takes up that option to buy, could come back to bite Manchester City on the backside. So City trying to learn their lesson on selling their players to other Premier League clubs. Now, moving on to the ins, we're going to start by speaking about a new name and a youngster. Comes in the form of Matija. Popovic. He's a 17-year-old Serbian attacking midfielder. He plays for Partizan Belgrade's youth side, and he would cost Manchester City nothing, but compensation would need to be agreed for him to become a Manchester City player as part of our academy, as he isn't a professional football player as of yet. He is currently on a youth contract at Partizan Belgrade. Now, it was being reported heavily that he was going to be signing for AC Milan. However, Fabrizio Romano has said that nothing is signed as of yet, and Manchester City, they want Popovic. Talks are continuing. Popovic was at Manchester City's match in Serbia when we took on Red Star Belgrade. So, reading between the lines, Manchester City there showing a lot of interest in another upcoming top talent from around the world and in Europe, which is always what City are looking for when it comes to bringing in players for their academy. Now, moving on, we've got the very latest on Joshua Kimmich, and I know you guys have all been asking about the latest on Kimmich, and is he going to be signing for Manchester City? Well, BILD over in Germany have poured cold water on these Joshua Kimmich rumours to Manchester City. Not so much that Bayern Munich aren't interested in selling Kimmich this January. That could happen, but more they're saying Manchester City simply, they're not interested in signing Kimmich in January from Bayern Munich. So seemingly looking like these Kimmich rumours that have been doing the rounds, there's nothing in them. Manchester City not interested in bringing Joshua Kimmich into the club, and should Kalvin Phillips leave, there is opening there in our squad for a potential central midfielder or a defensive midfielder to come to the club instead. Now, moving on to the final transfer, and it's not really specifically based on a player, but more what David Ornstein's been reported about Manchester City, because he has done his latest report about expected bits of business in January. And David Ornstein has said that Manchester City, right now, they do not plan to sign anyone for their first team squad in January. But that means if nobody leaves Manchester City this January, then nobody will be brought in. City will go with their squad. What I will find particularly interesting is, should Kalvin Phillips leave, and if City manage to get that business done relatively early in the window, it gives Man City enough leverage to go out there and bring somebody else in. Now, the word that I'm hearing from the club is Manchester City don't want to break the bank in January to bring a player in. Should Kalvin Phillips leave, they ideally would be looking for another homegrown midfielder to come into the Manchester City squad. But City, it's most important here, they do not want to break the bank to make that happen. They're looking for a player, an upcoming prospect that could take over that role in the squad. Remember, Kalvin Phillips hasn't been getting too many minutes. We can cope without Kalvin Phillips. However, should we get some injuries, you always want that strength in depth. There's lots of games to come in the second half of the season, so Manchester City squad already stretched thin. I would suggest, should Kalvin Phillips leave, Manchester City do bring somebody else in. If they want to fill that void of a homegrown player, Manchester City could choose to go out there and pursue somebody else who is homegrown, so an English player from maybe another English club or something, but teams know that Man City want central midfielders, so they're going to be charging literally an arm and a leg to bring these players in, so it becomes very difficult. Now, City could, they don't normally do this, but they could, I'm just speculating, potentially dip into the loan market. If other players are unhappy at other clubs and they want to leave, City could look at the loan market to bring somebody in with a good option to buy, because then it gives you the format to know, are they going to be good? Are they a good fit? Pep Guardiola gets to work with them for a few months while you don't have to commit as much cash as what you would if you want to choose to bring somebody in on a permanent basis. Now, in an ideal world, I'd like to sit here and I'd like to say Man City want this central midfielder, so let's use an example as Lucas Paqueta. It's no secret that Manchester City are huge admirers of the midfielder over at West Ham. Manchester City will be interested again in the summer, and should he clear his name of these betting allegations that have been put out there back from last summer, Manchester City could choose to make a move in the winter. And Man City do have the finances available to do that, so I'm not going to rule out anything. I still think we're going to be in for a pretty busy January transfer window. We know that there's interest in other players in the City first team squad. Sergio Gomez, the latest player, getting linked with loan moves, 18-month loan moves to Turkey. Could make sense. Again, it just stretches City's squad even thinner. We do not have these young players in the academy that are ready yet to take over in the first team. We've sold them, we've moved them on. They're probably 2-3 years away. So if City do want to sell and let players leave this winter, quite simply, they need to be replaced. And so if you're going to let the likes of Sergio Gomez and Kalvin Phillips leave, surely Manchester City aren't going to be as silly to say, we're not going to bring anybody else in and we're going to run with an even smaller squad for the most important business end of the season that we've had in a long time. Very interesting situation. City don't normally do their business in January, and I think that's what David Ornstein's getting at here, using what City have been like in the past few seasons in January to make his thoughts on and his analysis and his basis and his presumptions based on that. Nobody knows what business City are going to do. It all depends on the outgoings. Should any players leave, I'll be surprised though if Manchester City don't choose to go into the market and maybe at least look, maybe even bring somebody in. We'll see. It's going to be an interesting one. Of course, I'll keep you guys up to date every single step of the way with my daily Manchester City transfer updates going live from January 1st for you guys to enjoy. So if you haven't already, do subscribe to my channel. It is free to subscribe. Now less than 700 subscribers away from my goal of 33k, so any help towards that would be great. Also, don't forget social media links. They're in the description if you want to go and follow me on my Twitter, Instagram and TikTok. Email also in the description too if you want to hit me up for any sponsorships for any videos or any general business inquiries. Don't forget as well to get your thoughts in the comments below, and also don't forget to leave a thumbs up. 200 likes is the aim, and I'll see you all again real soon for the next Manchester City video, as we have all the build up, of course, to the Everton game, and we're all celebrating being the newly crowned champions of the world. See you soon, Blues. I've been JSGC. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Peace. Ciao for now.